What is up, everybody? Welcome in. We are live for episode 57 of the Bark and Brown Show. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13, joined as always by my wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter, and Mr. Ed in Columbus. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Well, honestly, Jacob, as a Browns fan, we're doing good because, as the offseason continues, we are drama. And I think we signed somebody pretty prevalent in the last couple of days or hours or whenever that officially was done. We've heard it was on a Wednesday and then it was, reported to us and then later on, which made us all happy and made a very nice Sunday. But got to mention heavy hearts. I am a parent, and today's events, obviously in Texas, obviously it hurts. Hopefully something gets done this time about it. The good of the nation can come together, just like the good of the Browns fans can come together in the fall with all the stuff going on with our team as well. And we'll heal. We are one. I always say we bark together and we live together and we are Americans together. So let's be better together. So that's all I got to say. And let's rock and roll. Have a good show, guys.
That's I think that's the best way we can put it. If anything could be put in any way, I think that's it's heartbreaking, and it's just I just hope that
I'm
maybe
sad, Jacob. I'm sad. I can lie to you tonight.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely sad tonight.
I hope that maybe we can just distract you from all of that.
That's kind of where I'm at too, because I didn't want to be like insensitive and tweets out something, but I also feel like doing the show and keeping that normalcy is important. So, Ed, I can't imagine the position, as not being a parent, I can't imagine, how you must feel or how all parents feel. So I'm just trying to be sensitive to that.
No, honestly, I'm glad you said that, Nick, because I'll say one thing. As a parent, maybe I feel different feelings than you guys do because you don't have children. But I will say one thing. I think I'm kind of envious of you guys because you don't have children, because you don't have that extra, burden. Because, every time I send my kids to school, you don't know. And, I trust that, whatever happens in life. I'm not one of those people. I'll say this, something bad could happen. I get in my car, I go to work, something bad could happen. I go, things could happen. You can't stop living your life. And that's the one thing I want everybody to know. Root for the Browns. Number one, we want you to watch the show because we love the support, but you got to continue to live your lives. I just hope that they actually come up with a solution to kind of curb, this stuff from happening, because this stuff shouldn't happen. And the innocence is what kind of, gets to me, because when innocence is lost, that kind of, society, goes down. And that's the one thing I love about the Cleveland Browns. And I love, working with you guys and everything, being a fan of a sports team, the Browns, it brings us joy. Like, as much as, even though when we say we're hating it and this or that, or it's stressful, and it's just because we want the joy for everybody to have. So I just want to rock and roll with that joy and have a great show, because, we owe it to people, because, we want your support, but we want to give you something. We want to rock and roll for you.
And I want to say there's nothing quite like being surrounded by Browns fans. Like those gatherings are so special to me. Like, it just, no matter if you're like in your living room with your friends or your family or whoever, or like in the Muni lot surrounded by Browns fans, like that's what it's all about, right? Like I'm learning something as we go along, that sports is about the team that you love, but it's also about the people that you share it with, right? And so,
amen.
And I'm thinking about that. You talk about getting back to normal life. It's like, this is going to be probably a season where we see a whole lot of Browns fans. And so I'm really excited about that and moving forward, because now we do have Jadeveon Clowney, and I'm sure, and I know we're going to dive into that here, but there's a lot of good stuff. And I really don't think the move is getting the hype it deserves.
Well, we will do our best, gentlemen, to get to that. I've got a few housekeeping notes here off the top, and then we will launch in. And I see it. Mr. Katopka and our good friend Mitch have discovered the subscribers emotes have been released.
Wow.
So over the weekend, we were able to get 3 emotes together for subscribers of the channel. Nothing too flashy, too special, anything like that, but we wanted to make sure, just another cool thing to identify it. Mr. Katopka, he comments with it for, it's funny because it won't show up when I bring it up, but we got a Browns player giving you the thumbs up, a little fist in the air, and we got a touchdown symbol. That's what we were able to get. We got those things put together. Mitch and Mr. Katopka using them. I see Mikey P over there using them as well.
And this is just the beginning. We're gonna have lots more emotes. The more subs
we got more emotes. this show is changing the intro soon. Hopefully we'll see what maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing. Let's get into it, guys. Okay, so I got a few housekeeping notes. The emotes are out. If you are not subscribed to the channel, we would really appreciate if you subscribe to this channel. If you have Amazon Prime, you could do it for free. It helps us out. It goes a long way. People say, hey, how does it help the channel out? By giving you money. One thing, we pay for a I lost my train of thought. NFL Game Pass so that we can rewatch the film. I watch the all 22 every week. I dissect it on the weekends, and we'll probably do some deeper dives into that with the new Twitch with some extra content. We're going to be looking to get you as much content as we can, especially as the season comes a little bit closer. PFF grades and the data and the things like that. That is the stuff that we use this money for. That is how the show gets better. We are able to get you emotes. We're able to do better graphics because I am stupid, so I have to pay other people to do it. Okay, so like, comment, subscribe, follow on the YouTube. Just thank you so much. Leave us a review. Send me an email to tell me I look stupid. Welcome to the new man cave. Here we are. We're in the man cave. Over here we have the anime figures galore. There's some more down here, some comic books, some things like that. The man cave wall has begun. It will have Brown's curtains here eventually and some flags and some other things. So my office is now isolated in this little room. It is the man cave where I will be doing all of my football work going forward. We've got a bunch of people in here. I want to say hi to Mr. Katopka, to Mitch. Josh the Catholic is in here. Zach's in here. Let's go down through here. Make sure we get everybody. Mikey P's in here. Josh the Catholic wanted to let us know that, as wrestling fans say, they marked the heck out of the Clowney news. Thank you.
As one final housekeeping note, I just want to say that Andy was our last month's Patreon winner of our Zabo apparel shirt giveaway, and so we talked to Brian Zabo, who is awesome, by the way, and he's getting that shipped out to Andy at what he did yesterday. So if you are interested in that, if you are interested in being entered to win a shirt from Zabo Apparel every month, we have a Patreon link that you can go to, and you will get all kinds of fun stuff, including
patreon.com/barkingbrowns. And as you know, tonight we will be talking about Mike Woods in a deep dive. As exclusive to our Patreon members for the $5 a month, you will get a slight film study. I do about 15 to 20 minutes so I can highlight all of those things that I talk about during the show. That's added content over there, $5 a month, exclusive chat on Twitter as well, where you can get me telling you why I'm smarter than you. It's just me being a pompous ass in the that's all it is. I see that Josh sees my shirt, my Stefanski Berry 20 from That's What B Said a couple of years ago. I doubled down with this shirt to let everybody know what I thought about the nerds. All right, guys. So let's get into it. Let's talk some football. We've got a special announcement at the end of the show about next month's charity challenge fundraiser, and maybe some people are joining me for it. Ooh. All right, guys, we're going to go right into it off the top. We are talking about Jadeveon Clowney here. This show stands for Jadeveon Clowney. We were stands of his last season as well when it came in here. Gentlemen, I will let you guys go first and talk about what you think it means to have Clowney, and I'll start with Ed and then Nick, and then I will go last and tell you everything. I will echo everything and go a little bit deeper into this. So, Ed, why is this important? Where do you feel about it?
Well, I'm glad you have me going first because I know how much Nick wants to tell everybody out there that think that it's not a big deal, that it is a big deal. So I will get some nice points in here, but I don't want to steal his thunder. But I just want to say the only thing that really gets, to me and what it really means to me is, okay, I like it when teams that, the perception of them is, they got some disarray with their personnel. Would that be a fair assessment that over this offseason, some people have started to question Andrew Berry and what he's doing with this team and things like that. But you know what? When you got somebody like Jadeveon Clowney, a former number one overall first pick, and you team him up with another number one former overall first pick and the defensive line, it's pretty special. And the fact that he wanted to come back to Cleveland shows that, look, he could have signed, 2 years. We've heard there are different offers out there that there's, some better deals out there. Especially if you're his agent, you might have had a talk with Mr. Clowney, and said, "Are you sure you want to go back to Cleveland?" And Clowney's like, "I think I do." So that means a lot. And I kind of like that, you know, he re-chose us. It's always nice.
Yeah.
And the girl chooses you twice. So I like that. And but no, it definitely solidifies the defensive line to some extent, and it involves more rotational players, like, you know, with Togia and stuff like that. I think that because Clowney can play inside, but I don't want to steal all of the thunder. And Nick, I'm dying. I'm just, you know what? Usually I love to hear myself talk. I love me some me, but I really want to hear what you got to say.
I appreciate it, Ed. I just want to say that the Major League Baseball leader in RBIs just hit another solo shot. Jose Ramirez putting the Guardians up 1-0.
He's a guy that chose Cleveland just like Clowney did too.
He did choose Cleveland
at a discount. At a discount.
You know what? And that's the thing. Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney taking a discount, right? Because it's not $11 million guaranteed. It's up to $11 million. And when you could have reportedly, from Ian Rappaport, had $14 or $15 million, right? And you chose Cleveland, I think it says a lot. And you know what? Cleveland took so much flack last year because they're like, Jadeveon Clowney's taking advantage of the Browns. Andrew Bear's an idiot. He's washed up. They're giving him all this money. And yeah, it was expensive to get Jadeveon Clowney. But you know what? I think that one of my biggest takeaways off the field is the fact that when Jadeveon Clowney takes a 1-year shot here, typically free agents do that, and that's about as far as it goes, right? But Jadeveon was actually able to revive his career, right, and turn it around to where he's a desired piece, because obviously he had multiple offers for a high price, given the market, right, and given the fact that there's guys still out there and there's not a whole lot of teams with a huge surplus of money, right? So I just think, you know, starting to set that trend, and even Tech McKinley is another example of guys that the Browns, you know, give a chance to and maximize it and show that they can be productive. I think Cleveland getting a reputation for that is super helpful for potentially getting more guys cheaply. And just from an on the field perspective, I just think that despite the fact that Jadeveon had 9 sacks, and I think that's a fine number, but he doesn't get nearly enough respect because he generates so many pressures, and people don't. If you look at almost any quarterback's numbers in the NFL, they are starkly different between when pressured and when not. And so just because Jadeveon's not putting up sack numbers, he is changing plays, and I think that's all you need him to do. So I'm ecstatic. And I know Jacob's got all kinds of stuff to say, but I appreciate it because people were mocking the Browns last year. And I think Andrew Berry deserves a victory lap here because he paid Jadeveon and was right. Because Jadeveon revived his career. He had his best year in the last 3 seasons. He blew all of his numbers away.
And Jacob, before you go, I have to say happy birthday to Mac the Buffalo, my co-host on Down with the Browns. He taught me something. And then if I don't mention this, I want him to think that I actually listen to him, because I usually don't listen to him because he really knows his stuff, but I'm me. So he told me this, which with the pressures that Nick talks about. So you got Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if they were number 1 in pressures, but they were pretty high in pressures. So he's telling me this, which makes a lot of sense. You're pressuring the quarterback, you know, this way. Quarterback steps up in the pocket. Guess who's going to get sacks? Perrion Winfrey. The defensive tackles that we all think aren't good enough, they get sacks that way because of the pressure from the outside, and that's what I really like about that. So that one's for you, Mac. Happy birthday, my man.
Just a not sponsored at all. They can sponsor us if they would like, but I have moved it right here in front of me. This is the Firecracker Pop candle from Bath and Body Works, and it is
well, yes, I'll take that. We'll smell all
Bath
good.
and Body Works. If you want to, I'll light a candle right here, and we will smell wonderful all night long.
And we will showcase my blue raspberry snow cone
on my arms if I have to.
We will rub it everywhere. All right, let's talk numbers with Jadeveon Clowney first. Okay, let's talk about numbers. You want pressures? I got 53 total pressures. I got 53, 10 hits, 32 hurries, 9 sacks, 26 stop tackles, 26 tackles in which were considered a failure by the offense. So on first down, you need to get more than 3 yards. You need to get enough yardage to where if you did it 3 times, you would get a first down. On second down, you need to be able to get half of the remaining yardage. If it's 2nd and 4, you need to get at least 2 yards. Anything less is a negative play and a stop tackle for the defense. On 3rd or 4th down, you need either the conversion or a touchdown, or it's a stop tackle. So you're looking at things where Clowney is making 26 stop tackles, 2 forced fumbles. you're looking at 32 hurries, 10 hits, 9 sacks, 53 pressures, and that's edge 2.
And that's the thing, right? Like Alex Wright, you just drafted Alex Wright, and I know you want to talk all about him. The difference between him being DE3 and 2 is giant.
The difference between he's now potentially DE4, depending on how you want to do Chase Winovich.
Yeah.
And I've got so much about Clowney, and I'm going to wrap it up here real quick. We talked about this just about all offseason, right? And I think Jeff Lloyd may have used this specific phrase, but if not, I heard it from somebody. It's not my idea, but he was the linchpin to this offseason. The linchpin was to get him back because everything else made sense. Clowney makes that entire defensive line better. Not just the edge room. He's taking pressure off the defensive tackles. Well, guess what? He can also slide inside. Now you're talking about Alex Wright. You're talking about Chase Winovich. You're talking about Isaiah Thomas as situational, rotational players. I'm not putting a lot. Chase Winovich, he's got the experience, so he can take the snaps, especially early on. But with Isaiah Thomas, who is a 7th-round pick, with Alex Wright, who is, in my opinion, Jadeveon Clowney Jr., those guys can sit and develop, Isaiah Thomas, he's a little older. He is what he's going to be, probably. Alex Wright is still very young, still very new. If you want to see me geek out and fanboy while interviewing Alex Wright, go check out Friday's episode of the Faithful Dog podcast, and you'll see me embarrass myself to my favorite player. So, Nicholas, I'm not even going to acknowledge that. I will not acknowledge that comment. I will.
Someone has strong feelings on if cereal is soup and
flexibility. You now have flexibility along that defensive line because you've got Alex Wright, you've got Isaiah Thomas, you've got Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, who can all play inside and outside on that line. Look, this was the linchpin. Plainly put, with him starting, everybody else has the opportunity to flourish. And guess what? Alex Wright, his measurables, his game, it all reminds you of Jadeveon Clowney. And who better to learn how to be Jadeveon Clowney than Jadeveon Clowney? Like, in the run game, man, you are not getting outside of Jadeveon Clowney for an explosive outside run when he is setting the edge. So he is a game changer on every level and on multiple different facets. And this one move is a domino effect in improving the entire defensive front for the Cleveland Browns. It was imperative to get Jadeveon Clowney back. They got Jadeveon Clowney back, and I feel so much better about that defensive line.
And also, Jacob, it is factually true that he does alter the game. Remember when he took Claypool's shoe and he threw it?
Okay.
You know what? I'll tell you what. In that game, obviously, and we'd been eliminated, or whatever like that. But he played hard that game. That's when I knew Clowney was a dog. For having not much riding on that season anymore left. Man, he came to Pittsburgh and he played like with an attitude and a dog, and I love that for a guy that wasn't supposed to re-sign with us, wasn't going to be here anymore, and everybody was saying this. He played his butt off, and I have mad respect to him, and that's why I'm even more happy that he re-signed with us.
In that game where Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions, the Monday or Sunday night,
Sunday night, Baltimore one. Yep.
Sunday night.
Oh, buddy, he
was so good. He was
so frustrated because he kept getting so freaking close to getting sacks, and Lamar just kept Houdiniing him.
Nobody flustered. Like, I know Lamar ended up being good. He still threw 4 interceptions. Obviously, he was flustered.
Yeah.
Right. And Jadeveon Clowney was a big piece of that. And you know what? I would go as far to say that the Browns tragically lost that Chargers game. Jadeveon Clowney was hurt that week. I think the Browns win that game if Jadeveon Clowney plays. Ed, you're muted.
Probably right. Yeah.
No, you're not. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, he's probably right. You know what? It's just what all the things that Jacob was saying. It's the hurries, it's the pressures, it's the containment. Justin Herbert, he wouldn't have looked as good and as close as that game as you saw in firsthand in person when you went out there to SoFi. It really was one play away. Which David Clowney, I can't say that it wouldn't have been different if he would have been in there.
Blaming that on Nick?
And he played better as the season went along, which for a veteran guy that already knew he was going to get his money, and you, like I said, 1-year deals, like you said, you take the money, you play hard for the first 5 or 6 weeks. Like look at Willie McGinnis and all the ones that came to Cleveland in the early 2000s, the middle 2000s. He played like a dog. I'll give him credit because he didn't always play that way in Seattle. I mean, wasn't there a couple of years he didn't even have any sacks?
Tennessee, he didn't have.
He didn't have Tennessee with the 8 games, but
well, that wasn't the case in Cleveland. So
I just want to ask real quick: what is worse than going to LA and watching the Browns lose in heartbreaking fashion?
Reliving it, Nick.
Oh no! Jacob knows the answer.
Losing to a team without an offensive coordinator.
Coming back home the next week and watching your team get completely obliterated to a team without an offensive coordinator.
Or a head coach. Oh, right.
Oh.
Let's move past Jadeveon Clowney. We've got several good topics coming up. Hey, guys, I got a 0-turn riding mower today. And then I cut my neighbor's grass because I was just having fun. I said, hey, I'm going to cut the grass for it. It's awesome. Great. No, it's all right. So I wanted to touch on this real quick, just a couple of minutes, just a couple of seconds on this, and then we'll move on to some takeaways from building the Browns, which I love that they do that just because I love being able to. I'm just such a football nerd. I really enjoy it. So I want to talk about the retaining of Glenn Cook. This is a big deal to me, and it's not just because if he gets hired next year, we get another pair of 3rd-round picks. That is great. Glenn Cook. If you listen during the draft, he was the one they were rolling out there while Andrew Berry was still working the draft after each pick to talk about it. And you can hear the football IQ through him. He is a really, really good talent evaluator, and you potentially were going to lose him when Catherine Reich was hired. So now you have 2 assistant GMs. One's in charge of player personnel and one's in charge of operations, I believe is how they did it. So you were able to bring in a very respected person in Catherine Reich, and you were also able to retain Glenn Cook, who's a very, very good talent evaluator and potentially could get you another pair of 3rd-round picks should he get the job. I'm actually more concerned with his ability to evaluate talent for next year's draft, but icing on top of the cake. So I wanted to point that out, that got lost during the Jadeveon Clowney signing, that retaining Glenn Cook was very, very important. When you have smart people in the building, keeping them in the building is a good move. Guys, building the Browns. Let's talk about building the Browns as we move on real quick. I will start with Nick, and we'll go to Ed, and then I'll finish it up once again. Give me some of your takeaways. I've got a couple of real big ones, and I know you guys may hit on a couple of them, but we'll start with you, Nick. I love the show. I really do. I really, really enjoy the show. So let's discuss some of our biggest takeaways from the rookie minicamp episode.
You know what? Something that was less obvious that just kind of stuck out to me is they had each player say their name, where they were from, and their favorite athlete growing up as like a kind of chemistry builder.
Yeah.
And I loved hearing that from all the guys, for our perspective. But you know what? So David Bell shared today, and I actually tweeted about it today, that his favorite athlete because from Indiana, which I learned from building the Browns, and his favorite athlete growing up was LeBron James, and for some reason that just resonated with me because I just I was thinking about like Cleveland and our identity and a lot of and Michael Woods was talking and said, a lot of them have never even been to Ohio, right? Like this is their first time ever even being there, and so.
That was really interesting. I really thought that was really interesting.
I was shocked by that. Well, not shocked by that. I guess it just kind of, it took me, like, it definitely hit me. Right. And so I was just thinking about LeBron, and I know all of that, but it's like I was just thinking about Cleveland and how tied into, like, you may never have been to Ohio, but you'll know them because of our sports. And I'm just, I love that so much about Ohio and Cleveland and all of that. So that definitely stuck with me. And I just want to say from a further aspect, it's really cool to see a behind the scenes look about how the Browns are going about building community and building chemistry and all of that. I think they are really good in that aspect. And for so long, we struggled there, right? And so when you really build that sense of community and belonging, I think that's part of why a guy like Jadeveon Clowney returns. And so that stuck with me. It's
very important, the job that Ron Brewer does.
Yeah.
Like, he has his role at getting these people. He helps with their finances, and people that have never. I mean, you're looking at people that have barely had 2 pennies becoming millionaires overnight.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and so you're looking at what Ron Brewer does in setting them up with the resources and getting them whatever information, knowledge, help, anything like that. His job. I really like that the Browns are finally highlighted what he does. That was very important.
For anybody that doesn't know, there was recently a really nice hotel built literally across from the Browns facility. So when they bring these guys in, they're like right there. You know what I'm saying? It's like they make it super easy to transition, because these guys are picking up their entire lives and moving. And I love seeing the behind the scenes stuff of just why the Browns are a well-run organization. Like that just resonates with me.
What you got, Ed?
Well, what I took from it is, I always say this, when it comes to the Browns defense, the Browns will be A-O-A-O-K, because they got J-O, J-O-K. But I saw J-O-K balling, okay, on that episode. And I'd stick to the hitting, guys on the football field. But we love you, J-O-K. Another thing, too, I saw them golfing. And I remember I went to Top Golf. This is a couple weeks ago. And maybe we'll have to do a little challenge this summer or something like that. But my short game with the irons, it was working magic. So, but you know what? And to sum up you guys' point, community, togetherness, team. I like the fact that the Browns actually have a guy, like you said, bringing them together, coordinating things. They're actually, they're drafting players, but they're taking care of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I like about it. And that was a great episode, like they always have. Emmy Award winning, and so keep them coming, especially down in Columbus. We love building the Browns, and I'm glad we're talking about it.
I am too.
High noon, get some today. All right, still trying to get that sponsorship. We'll keep working on it.
Somebody, we'll get somebody.
Somebody sponsor us, please, so we can stop making up our own ad.
I love Great Lakes. I just saying, I love Great Lakes, and if you haven't had the Mexican lager, it's delicious.
We're just throwing things out of dartboards.
Mountain Dews are good too.
Mountain Dew, there it is.
This has been our spontaneous sponsor segment. If you would like to sponsor the Barking Brown Show,
please
email us.
Email us, thebarkingbrownShow@gmail.com. How about the golf lessons, hoop shooting? We kind of touched on that a little bit, Mitch. I really love that. And I'm not saying that's going to make them win a Super Bowl, because they do that. But seeing stuff like that was important. I said this on our space the other day with Dog Pound Daily. I said, they listen to the players. They're building a facility. They're bringing in these yoga instructors. They're bringing in different types of, recovery pools and, aromatherapy, all these things to help deal with soft tissue injuries. We'll see if it works, but they're listening to players. John Johnson says, we need yogas, we'll build you a facility and give you yoga and some more. Hearing that, I don't know that translates, but it's still awesome. That is awesome to hear that it's like when you finally have a boss that listens to how can we make your life better? And you write down on a piece of paper and they actually listen. I mean, that motivates everybody.
Jacob, are you saying that if you work for Jimmy Haslam, look, it's probably fine, Jay, you say you need some gas, he'll just build your gas station? Is that what you're saying, what they're doing? And I like that, because you said
seems
yoga.
Like it.
Yeah, you said yoga. They built them a studio, basically. I mean, that's next level. I give the Browns credit. Haslam putting his money where his mouth is.
And this, to steal a bit from the wonderful 92.3 up here, this could be reckless speculation, but there's houses surrounding the Browns facility that are mysteriously being knocked down, and there's speculation that the Browns may be expanding their entire facility to further accommodate. Because it's not like they didn't have an indoor practice facility like a certain other team located in Kentucky, but they could make a bigger field. They could have some more facilities, some more state-of-the-art amenities. Maybe.
You know what's funny, Nick? You know what's funny about that? These houses that you mentioned? When Belichick was the coach in the 90s, he actually had somebody on his staff that he would put in charge of going around, making sure that they weren't spying on him.
Really?
Practice. Yeah, from the time they could see.
Just
making sure. Yep.
Wow. That sounds like Bill.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over here real quick. Okay. So we got the comment here. Perrion Winfrey saying his favorite athlete growing up was Kimbo Slice, was scary and exciting. It just didn't surprise me. That was the most yeah, probably comment like that I had in the entire show. So my biggest takes away, you guys have touched on some of them, the things with Ron Brewer and some stuff like that. I really love the camaraderie and the togetherness they're trying to promote. My biggest takeaway, Stefanski trusts his staff. That was something that I noticed in there that really interested me when I watched it again, was there's a lot of get with your coaches. Your coaches are going to go over this. Your coaches are this. Your coaches is there. Him wandering around from group to group, him doing all this stuff. Rather that's right or wrong, whether he has good of assistant coaches or not. I'm not necessarily addressing that, but seeing someone who brings in a staff and has a group of people to do a job and then entrusting them to actually do the job that you hired him for, that is a good leader to me. So I really thought that Stefanski's leadership and his trust in his assistants was on display in this situation, and it was something that I took away. That was my biggest takeaway from the episode.
And Jacob, I got a question for you, and I love that you said that because I believe that the best leaders delegate. But I think Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are next level, and here's why I think that way. Because, for instance, if I hire you to be my linebackers coach, okay. Mm-hmm. And I know what your philosophy is, and I trust you to go teach the linebackers how to be a linebacker. But I think Stefanski and Andrew Berry actually probably take it one step further. They probably know how that linebacker is going to teach them different techniques. Sure. You know what I'm saying? They're even next level where it's not that he just trusts his assistants. He trusts them because he probably trained them. They're on the same page. It's all, synergy. That's the one thing I like about Berea and what's going on. So, I do believe that everybody, whether it be from the maintenance workers all the way up to the quarterback, they are really on the same page. And I know it's just lip service, but I honestly believe that. And that's what's so fun to watch.
Ed, do you think if someone asked Kevin Stefanski a question, he would respond by talking about how he drives the bus?
Negative, Nick.
We're going to move along here. I told you guys that I had a surprise question for you this week in our staff meeting. Yes. It is time for us to get to my surprise question. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more topics to get to and just a little bit of time. Let's go. So I'm not going to talk about the off the field stuff with Deshaun Watson. I'm not a lawyer. I wasn't there. And I'm not going to pretend to understand any of it. And I'm not going to seem like I'm not going to pick a side. I'm not going to do any of this stuff because I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. And I am not going to pretend to know it or understand the way this legal system is playing out because I'm an idiot in my upstairs man cave talking about football on a Tuesday after I mowed my neighbor's grass. So I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not.
You're not going to preach like they do on Twitter?
Listen, I got a question. I got to get close for this, okay?
I like questions.
There's going to be a suspension, and it's going to happen this year. I do not think it's getting kicked down the can. I think we've gone back and forth on some different things. I don't think it's getting kicked. It happens this year. I don't know what the number is, but I have a question. If it is, especially if it's a year long, that's a given. But if it is a substantial, a large,
huge
suspension, it's huge. The Browns are set up to win. Okay. Brissett for 4, maybe 6 games. For 4, definitely, but for 6 games, I'm probably okay. I think you can get to 3-3, maybe get 4 wins in there. I think you'd be okay, and you can set up for a situation because the first 4 games are, 3 of the first 4 especially. I think you should win, and barring some other injury. How many games? What is the number? And then what is the number that you sit there and you think, I need to go trade for Jimmy G to start this amount of games? Listen, the salary cap number, I'm not sure Jack Duffin can tell me about this. I'm pretty sure that Jimmy G's salary cap number next year you can get out of his contract. If I remember correctly, like he's got like 20 some million this year, but next year you could just cut him or trade him and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Let's say for arguments of this scenario that is true. Let's say that's true. I'm not 100% sure, but let's say that is true. Okay. Where's the number? Is it 8? Is it 10? Is it more than 10? That you go, I cannot tread water and have myself in a situation to make the playoffs with Brissett as my quarterback for these amount of games. I'm going to go get Jimmy Garoppolo because I can make the cap work. And I think with Jimmy Garoppolo and then Deshaun Watson and whatever, we can make a Super Bowl run. I know it's not happening. I just thought that in the middle of May, I thought about this the other day and I was like, oh my God. And then the thing is, I told you guys this on Sunday. I came up with this question Saturday. I don't know the answer. My answer, I'm thinking about it right now. So where's that number where you go, okay, we don't have Watson for 10 games. I'm going to go get Jimmy G because in this offense, he can have a winning record to hand it over to Watson.
I find myself saying 8 because like if Deshaun Watson is suspended 6 weeks, I think you can still weather that.
Yeah, I'm not worried at 6. I'm not worried about 6.
When you start to dip into half the season though, I just, based on the way the division played out last year, I just don't think you can give that type of room to the rest of the AFC North or the AFC in general.
The frustration on your face is when I asked this question. Everybody's like,
this is one of the toughest things for me about next season because we all know that I'm like high energy. I want to get hyped. I want to get excited, and like it's really hard to get excited when you don't know, where
about the most important position on your
it's really I mean no matter what it was going to be hard, right? But anyway, I think I find myself at 8 because it's 6, especially with the Browns' first 4 weeks. Like I keep in mind that even with I say this all the time, you both know it. The Browns were 4th in rushing with what I consider bottom 5 quarterback play in the NFL. So I think Jacoby Brissett, and I looked at his. In 15 games, he threw 18 touchdowns, which isn't fantastic, but it somehow is comparable to what Baker Mayfield gave you last year. So, yeah, I find myself at 8.
I'm actually going to surprise you. And here's why. I'm going to say 12. And here's why. I don't trade for nothing. I actually, the answer is I'm okay with 10. Because I think at 10, I think Jacoby Brissett can make a 6-4, and then I'll take my chances because there's 7 games left. You're playing a 17-game schedule. Now, there's only 16 games. My answer would have been 8 to 10. But I think with 17 games and the schedule's easy on the beginning, I think the number would have to be 12 games that he was suspended for me to trade for Jimmy G. Because here's another thing, Jacob. What I can do is ride Jacoby Brissett until the wheels fall off, and that might be week 6 or 7. Okay, let's be real. Maybe there's another quarterback that's a backup somewhere else, like, I don't know, Case Keenum or something even not as sexy as Jimmy G, but I can, survive another 5 games. And then Deshaun Watson comes back for 7 games. And the schedule's not that hard the last couple. They got the Saints and they got Washington. So I'd say it'd have to be 12 to get Jimmy G. 10 if it was 16 games, but I think this team is ready to roll, and I love the process. Look at their team; they're stacked. I you got 2 running backs. I think that with this year, you're going to ride Nick Chubb a little bit more than you had because why not? I mean, let's win some games here, and with Hunt coming back, I'm not really worried. Maybe I'm just being too overly optimistic, but Jacob, I ain't scared of nobody in the AFC. I'm not. I'm really not.
Yeah, and I get it. My number's 9. Anything over 8, I think you can weather the storm to anything up to 8, and then you potentially, and it doesn't have to be Jimmy G. But I love
that because honestly, Jacob, if you trade for Jimmy G, it shows commitment to winning this year.
Yeah, it's a swing for the fences.
Yeah,
it's a swing for the fences that I'm not sure necessarily we thought we were going to have to. All right, so that is my random question that I had for you guys. We are going to move on. We have just a few more topics, just a little bit of time. We will get you out of here on time potentially. So we are moving in as Nick fixes the situation he's got going on over there. We are going to move into Ed's Go For It. So what's really funny is that Ed gave me a general idea of what his go for it was. And it was actually a question that I also got in our post when I asked for anybody that had any Q&A questions. So we're going to get that question answered now. So Ed, please present us with this week's go for it.
Okay, and Jacob, I want you to look at and see who asked that question because they need a shout out. But here was the question, and this was my go for it. So you guys, obviously the Browns, I think they need to get another free agent, whoever, whether it be offense or defense. What is more imperative that the Browns do? Should they go after a wide receiver like a guy named like Will Fuller? Does that interest you? Or maybe a defensive tackle like Akeem Hicks? What would you go for it if you had to pick one or the other? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the interesting thing is I think right now they're not going to until potentially something doesn't work out in camp. I think they like what they have at both positions going into camp. Now, if Schwartz isn't as far along as maybe they think he is, or Togiai, or Elliott just continues to not be able to figure it out, or Taven Bryan, or they're, because I think from what I've heard, they really, really like Taven Bryan. I think that's something that people aren't necessarily taking into account for. But if you're in there and it's like Taven Bryan is the only one, or Perion Winfrey's the only defensive tackle, then that's, I think, midway through camp, if they realize, okay, Elliott's not making this roster, then that could be where it is. It's most likely a tackle. I think it's most likely a tackle because at wide receiver, I think you've got enough pieces. You've got a number one, so that takes the pressure off of it. You also got David Njoku and Harrison Bryant at tight end, and you've got Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford to make some plays in the passing game as well. So I think you've got much more weapons than you do have tackles, so you can tread water there. So I don't think one happens unless they get into camp and somebody just doesn't play well. But if it was going to be one, it would be a run stuffing one tech D tackle.
I find myself agreeing with you because I look at the wide receiver room, and despite the fact that I do think Will Fuller fits obviously with Deshaun Watson and with the Browns offense and what they want to do, I just think the two position groups comparatively, the wide receiver room is far stronger than what I view the defensive tackle room as. So, like, if they added another defensive tackle on top of, adding Jadeveon Clowney now, I would be ecstatic about that.
Just elated.
I know. I know that it's and Jacob's right. Like, I think it is unlikely. But if they would, I think that would be very, very helpful. Like, this Browns defense, in my opinion, has the potential to be elite and was largely underappreciated because the offense was just so bad that whenever you're in a situation where the offense is bad, eventually the defense is going to give on the other side, because that's just the way football works right now. So I think that the defense has the potential to be really good. So I'm hoping for a defensive tackle.
Both great answers. And shout out to KCK. Casey, is it Kinnaman? That submitted that question, but was my go for it. That, great minds think alike, and we appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Ed and I will sit back and shut our mouths because now it's time for Nick's nuances.
I appreciate that, Jacob.
I'm gonna get a theme music for this. I think I just did that.
I actually have a curveball for you because I thought about this the other day and I wanted to bring it up. Cleveland is special for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons that Cleveland is so sports dominant is because all three of their major sports teams are in the downtown area. And you know what, you would think that would be common, but honestly, across the country, it's not, right? And so I thought about this recently because the Commanders just bought a plot of land that is like way out of their area.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. It's like, it's out there. Yeah.
It's 47 minutes away. 47 minutes away.
Yeah. And I mean, fine, people will travel. I understand that. But it is so beneficial to a city and to an area when the stadiums are in the downtown themselves. And despite the fact that yes, First Energy Stadium is on its own little island, it still remains the same that Progressive Field, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and First Energy are all directly within Cleveland's general downtown. And I don't think that gets nearly enough recognition for what it is, because even a place like somewhere like Buffalo, right, gets super great reputation, for their fans and for all that stuff. And that is still a ways out of the actual city of Buffalo. And Denver's another. But my point is, it is really special that Cleveland has been able to have all of these teams in downtown for so long. And I'm not sure, because we've talked on the show before about the stadiums and just kind of, are we going to get a dome? What is the future of First Energy? Are we going to upgrade it? Are we going to move? Are we not move from the city? I just want to say, but you know what I'm saying.
Don't mention that. That hurt. That's a little too close.
Yeah, the M word, little sensitive. But I just, you know what, and as more cities or more places are looking for places to build stadiums, I think Cleveland becomes even more special. That, you know, when it's a Browns game, you go downtown, you support downtown jobs, downtown businesses, Cleveland, I should say. But, you know, like that is such a special part of it, because Cleveland needs that, right? And so I love that. And the more stadiums that are built outside of their actual region, the more I appreciate it. So I just want to, you know, I just want to give a hand to Cleveland for that. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you look of cities that have 3 major sports teams, which I mean is not even that common to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. Cleveland is one of the very few on a very short list that actually has all 3 in their downtown.
Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is Nick's nuances for the week. And now we are on to Mike Woods. That is our rookie of the week for a deep dive. Guys, if you want to see a little bit more in-depth, it's about 15 to 20 minutes. It's exclusive for our Patreon members, patreon.com/BarkingBrowns. I will get it put in the chat here in just a second. You can check that out. Patreon members get a little bit of a film study. I throw some YouTube clips together to try to illustrate some of the points I'm about to make about each player. And so we will go to Mike Woods. All right. Let's talk a little bit. 6'1", 204, 33-inch arms. That's what he comes in at the combine. The Browns have a type when they draft wide receivers, right? These big physical wide receivers. Now, I heard Pete Smith say this the other day, and he brought up a good point. If you want to see why the Browns liked Mike Woods, go watch Arkansas. Do not watch this year at Oklahoma. It was just, I don't know if it was the system. He didn't really get a lot of opportunities to showcase his skill the way he did at Arkansas. If you go right now and you type Mike Woods into YouTube, and I talked about this on the Patreon video, all of the top hits are going to be highlights from Arkansas. So first, I'm going to tell you what I like about Mike Woods. Then we'll talk about some of the issues, and then I'll get Ed and Nick's opinions as well. He's big, he's physical, and he has reliable hands when he gets his hands on the football. So he's got okay athleticism, okay vertical. He had a good broad jump. I think his RAS score was like a 7.35, so it wasn't really anything to write home about. But, like, I see a little bit of DPJ. He's not the athlete that DPJ is, but, like, DPJ has that little subtle shake where he can then burn like he did for a couple big touchdowns last year, where I see Mike Woods do that, where he creates massive amounts of separation. But most of the time he does not. He's not going to burn. He's not a freak athlete. But what he does is he shields the ball from the defender. So your best bet is to throw a ball up for Mike Woods to go up and get it. But the only problem is he's got these 33-inch arms, and he T-Rex arm catches everything. His catch radius for a dude with enormous arms over 6 feet is that of a 5'9" wide receiver with short arms. It doesn't make sense to me. But guess what? That can be coached. So, like, I can see what the Browns want to do with him. He's not an elite athlete. He doesn't have burner speed. He's not going to wow you on tape. But like David Bell, he's a guy that can just go up and get it. They're different kind of players. David Bell's much more productive. But, like, Mike Woods, you're not looking for him to blow a game open. But if it's 3rd and 8, there's a good chance you can get him for 9 yards. He's not afraid of contact. He will go up and get the ball, and he will take some shots. He's just not going to wow you. He's not going to blow you away. I think of the draft picks, he has the toughest route to not only the 53, but the practice squad. I think Dawson Deaton ends up in the practice squad. I'm not sure Mike Woods even makes the team. So, like, that's where I'm at. But having watched some of his tape, especially stopping watching the Oklahoma tape and going back into Arkansas and say, if I can get that Mike Woods, then I can see why you picked him in the 6th round. Because I'll be honest, I didn't know a ton about him when they were drafted him, because he was in the range where I thought if the Browns took a wide receiver there, it would be a burner. And that's just not what he is. So he's not going to blow you away on tape, but you see some DPJ in there. You see a little bit of David Bell. You see this type when it comes to the players that they have drafted at the position outside of Anthony Schwartz, who still is pretty big. I mean, he's doesn't have a ton of weight, but Anthony Schwartz is, over 6 feet as well. So there's some stuff that I really like. I don't overly love it, but I think you could get a pretty decent chain mover out of Mike Woods.
You know what? The thing that stuck out to me about Mike Woods was just his efficiency. I don't want to say efficiency, effectiveness in the red zone. When you do watch his highlights, he has a lot of touchdown catches. He has a lot of plays that are impactfl, and
they're kind of clutch. Clutch plays.
Yeah, they're clutch, and that's the words I was searching for. So maybe, and obviously he's a later round pick for a reason, right? But maybe he's not the fastest guy in the world, but the Browns don't always need that, right? You've got Anthony Schwartz, you've got Amari Cooper, who maybe isn't that guy, but will be your alpha. You need reliable catchers that can get open. And I was telling the guys this pre-show, like last year, for example, they drafted Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and then they drafted Tony Fields, who kind of felt like a guy that had a similar skill set, but maybe just
he felt like JOK's backup.
Yeah, and so in this way, you look at wow, his name escapes me right now.
Mike Woods is David Bell's backup.
David Bell. You look at David Bell and you say Mike Woods. That's a guy. When you put those two tapes on side by side, they are similar. They definitely resemble each other. So it's going to be interesting. I think he does have some stuff to offer. So you can never forget. Wow, I'm forgetting everyone's name that's ever existed. You can never forget our favorite wide receiver who Jacob had making the roster, and I did not, and went to Detroit.
Kadero Hodge.
Thank you.
The air guitar.
The air guitar celebration. He had like a one-hand catch a preseason game. But so what I'm saying is I feel, Jacob, on the fact that the Browns are probably going to end up cutting a talented wide receiver. So we're going to see where that goes. I honestly don't know.
I can't find Demetric Felton's roster spot, by the way. We'll talk about that later, but I just can't find it right now.
It's tough.
Talking about speed with Mr. Woods here. Yeah, he's not the fastest, but he's 4.55. That's the same as Treylon Burks. And you know what makes up for speed and sufficiency would be running good, crisp angles on your routes, and that's what he does very well. And that's what I think the Browns, especially with the Stefanski offense and the way he's going to be doing things. I you know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's something that they like, and I think that it's the route running, guys. I think that Amari Cooper. If you look at what they've done with this team, they want smarter players that run good routes and helps. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems like a well-oiled machine. And routes in the NFL, it's the difference between a great wide receiver and ones that aren't as physically gifted being great wide receivers. Like Jerry Rice wasn't the most physically gifted, but ran crisp routes. And guess what? Joe Montana was right on the money with them. And I could see Watson being the same way with these guys with Cooper. And if this one guy makes the team, then obviously there's something that they like, and I think it's the route running. And plus he's not that slow. I mean, 4.55. I've seen slower. Yeah. So hey, good luck, Sooner.
Well,
yeah. All right.
Moved on.
Right? I mean, I don't know him. If I get to know him, that's a good thing. That means he's doing good, right?
Yeah.
That's right, guys. The return of the top fives. We are here. We are at our final segment. We decided this last year to try to kill some, not just really to kill some time, but just have some fun and entertain a little bit. Yeah. We would get into some top fives that were non-football at the end of the episode, and today is the first of the off season as we've gotten past, free agency and the draft and all those things, and we're moving into where we are now, which is OTAs started today. There's media availability tomorrow, the day after the HBO special that will be on tonight. So I'm sure that Twitter will be a hell space for the next 3 or 4 days.
I'm sure it's kind of fun to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about the people that we are outside of Browns fandom, right? And so I think, if you peer into Jacob's background, when you get a glimpse of it, you'll see some of the stuff he's into. And I hope one day to do that. But like these top 5 lists, there you go. Yeah, you see it. These top 5 lists help kind of give a window into that. And actually, I remember Andy last year we did. Oh, the Ranger Slayer. I got a lesson on that. Ed got a lesson.
I got a lesson on that as well.
So last year, like Andy Manchin started watching Rick and Morty because I talked to, and I might lovingly talk about it again tonight. So
tonight's top 5 animated shows. For me, let me tell you some rules about my list and how I went about selecting my things. I went with the most impactful / nostalgic shows. So they might not even be on the air right now.
Mm-hmm.
They might not even, and if they are on the air right now, they might not be as good as they used to be. There are some things like that. But a lot of these are shows that I loved as a kid and still watch now. So that is my rules for my list. I like to kind of like tell that sort of things because we did top 5 MCU movies was one of the ones we did last year. And mine really had to do with not just if they were the best 5 movies, just what they meant to me and the way they made me feel. So
I
Ed
definitely went impactful as well. I just want to say like just things that still to this day shape me. That's where I went.
I just gotta say, don't at me. It's my list.
Yeah, sure.
That's right. All right, Ed, let's start with you. We'll go to Nick and we'll do that for the entire thing. So number 5, Mr. Ed.
Well, I like Scrooge McDuck. I like Launchpad. I'm going to go old classic DuckTales and the Money Pit.
I love that because that is the most ridiculous thing of all time when he dives in there because you would break all of your bones. Have you seen it?
That would hurt.
Have you seen the Family Guy episode where he goes to do it and he like breaks all of his bones? Yeah, that was pretty funny. Nick.
You know what? I'm kind of a clown. And I blame a lot of that on the cartoons I watched. And to this day, Tom and Jerry is one of Tom, just Jerry is just, if you've never seen it, for some of our younger viewers, that cat chasing that mouse is as good of comedy as it gets. I love the venture. And I still watch it on HBO Max to this day. I love Tom and Jerry. It's fun. It's zany. It's a little, quirky. They hurt themselves. It's just like, it's not malicious. It's just fun. And I love fun. Everyone knows. I can't help it. I love it.
I'm going to give my answer and then I got to run off screen and come back and show you something.
Okay.
Number 5 is a thing that I haven't watched in years, but I still collect the trading cards and I still play the trading cards. And that was something I watched every weekday after school at 4:00 on Kids WB. And that is Yu-Gi-Oh, baby. That is right. Yu-Gi-Oh all the way. Number 5 top animated show of all time. Ed, hit us with number 4. I'll be right back.
Duel.
Well, my number 4 actually was it involves music as well because it's Beavis and Butthead. It's my number 4, Beavis and Butthead. It's great, even the movie, I love it, and I grew up with that, so it's good stuff.
I love it.
Cornholio and all that, nonsense.
Yeah, sure. Why not? This is hard, man, because there's so many great animated shows.
So right now, Yu-Gi-Oh has released a new pack that is the Ghost from the Past 2, in which more classic cards got made into holos, including some of my favorite original cards made into Ghost rare. And that's right. I have a Ghost Rare Red Eyes Black Dragon.
Hot dog.
Look at that.
Back in the day. That I recognize that art from the OG.
That is your original art.
Sure
Red
is.
Eyes Black Dragon in the Ghost Rare. This card is valued at about $150.
2,400 attack, 1,500 defense, if I remember correctly.
2,000 defense, yeah.
2,000 defense. All right, I got the attack right, though. I know I did.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
certainly did. Yeah. I'm no stranger to Yu-Gi-Oh.
So Nick, are you on your number 4? I believe.
Yes, I am on number 4. So another part that shapes me. One of my first, and it's such a tough toss up between Batman and Spider-Man because I loved both of them dearly. But when I asked myself which comic influenced me more heavily, it is the Spider-Man series. I believe it's from 1996. It's an animated series.
It's on Disney Plus, if you didn't know.
It is. Yes, I know it's on Disney Plus, and to this day, I could sit there and watch that because it just like I was just watching this dude swing on webs through New York City and just dumbfounded as a 7-year-old, and just I've been captured by superheroes and all that nerd stuff ever since. So Spider-Man is my number 4 of all time.
Number 4 for me was a show that I couldn't tell you the last time I've actually been able to watch it because it's just been a really, really, really long time. But number 4 for me is the Rugrats, man.
Wow.
Like that is I can always remember that the VHS tapes of their movies were orange. The VHS tapes were orange. Rugrats was one of my favorite shows, and if it was on Netflix right now, we'd be watching it. So Rugrats comes in at number 4 for me on top animated shows.
I believe that's Paramount Plus now, right? Rugrats on Paramount Plus?
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
I just learned that Paramount Plus has Sonic 2 on it now.
One of the streaming services has all the Nickelodeon stuff. So like Rugrats, Rocket Power.
I know they're all slowly getting put on Netflix, I believe, because that's where Fairly Odd Parents is right now.
Yeah. Rise, you got it. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands.
I was just watching that.
Mom and Dad and Vicky always giving him commands.
We're gonna put in the Patreon for people that want to know. All right, Ed, give us your number 3.
Now, I will say one thing: 3, 2, 1 for me. It was tough, but I'm gonna go number 3. I'm going to go South Park. I don't like the Denver Broncos. I know they're out and whatever like that, but at the same time, it's a funny show and maybe not suited for all audiences, depending on your age, but they do push the envelope and we love them for it. And I love Cartman. I love Cartman. I love Kenny. I mean, it's fun. Kyle, and it's just
You know what? I was never allowed to watch South Park as a kid.
See, that's my point.
Even then, though, I still knew you killed Kenny.
Exactly.
I still knew it.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go real quick to number 3. This is a show that started when I was 8 years old. It debuted on the same day as Rocket Power, and it is still running now on Nickelodeon, and that's my boy SpongeBob SquarePants. So that right there, firmly number 3. If that is on right now, if we're scrolling through, we didn't got anything else, any other plans, we're gonna watch some SpongeBob SquarePants.
The best.
Ed, give us your number 2.
Oh, wait.
Okay. Did you go? You went, Nick, right?
I need a 3.
You need a 3.
I didn't need a 3.
Oh, did I skip you? Yeah, go for it.
That's okay. Okay. So in deepening my nerddom, right? My favorite superheroes of all time are mutated turtles that wear bandanas around their eyes and eat pizza in their spare time of crime fighting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Cowabunga. I love them to this day. I could watch I could watch Michelangelo slurp down a pizza in the middle of a New York sewer any day of the week. God, I love those karate fighting Ninja Turtles.
You know what? I had all of them. I had all the action figures. I had the Teenage Mutant.
I did too. I still do. I still own them. I love them with all my heart.
I do love them. And actually, I had them around here. I don't know. We had a turtle, but I'll have to find them for the next show. The show we have all 4 of the pillow ones. But so number 2 for me, and this is tough between 1 and 2, but I'm gonna go Family Guy. I mean, that's just a classic. I mean, PETA. I mean, and if you don't like Quagmire, giggity. I mean, it's good stuff in a raunchy way.
Yeah.
Number 2, Family Guy, baby.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's me right there, Family Guy. It's just still to this day. It's It's every bit as stupid as it always was, and I'm down.
I'm going to insult Jacob, and my number 2 is, to this day, is Dragon Ball Z. I love that show and everything about it, and Jacob has so many figures behind him. It's not my number 1, but God, is it like I could watch it to this day. The whole side, just all of that, just fighting for what you believe in is I love it. It's inspiring, and I love it. I could soak it in like a sponge. Look at it. It's beautiful. Yep, there it is.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Ed, give me your number 1.
Numero uno. Okay, so this craze started on the Tracy Ullman show back on Fox, and it was just a little cartoon skit that they would have. They would turn it into the longest running animated, I believe, the Simpsons. I had T-shirts. I mean, it was a major thing. Eat my shorts, man. I mean, the whole Bart Simpson, do the Bart man. I was doing that with the cassette tape of The Simpsons. I mean, The Simpsons were huge, and I love them. And the fact that Bart Simpson's still in the 4th grade, and they haven't grown up, and yet they're still relevant, and Homer's still Homer. I mean, it's amazing that they've had the success they've had, and I think that all the shows that have come from, whether it be American Dad or this or King of the Hill, and all those shows somewhat, or all around Simpsons format, and yeah, so I think that's like the Babe Ruth of that animation domination, as Jacob used to watch on Sunday nights. So that's my numero uno, number 1.
Animation domination was the thing. Number 1 for me, it's Dragon Ball Z, man. It is what it is. It's always there for me. It's still there for me. I'll probably watch some tonight before I go to bed, man. We're watching back through the Boo saga right now. So yeah, man, that's where I'm at. Nick, hit us with your number 1, and let's have some laughs, and let's get the hell out of here.
Number 1 is the same inspiration of Andy. Rick and Morty is just I love him. I love going on journeys, and if you want to go through the galaxy, Rick and Morty will take you there, and they're just topical and funny, and the satire, I love all of it. I disrespected SpongeBob, and I just want to apologize to SpongeBob because I definitely did. But that's my number 1. Rick and Morty. I don't have words for that show.
Well, gentlemen,
we didn't say at the beginning of this. Is this a Clay Matthews episode?
Yes, number 57. Yes,
number 57.
Yep.
So, on that note, do we have anything else, gentlemen?
Keep your eye out for the June's charity fundraiser challenge.
Oh boy!
You thought I went spicy last time. Let's see if me and maybe some friends go spicier this
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
We will be raising money for the Lunchbox Fund, a charity that aims to end child hunger.
We love to support charity.
Will be.
I just want to say, because Jacob didn't say it today, the most valuable thing you can give anyone is your time, and I want to thank everyone who has taken their time to spend it with us. Ed, do you have anything for us, friend?
Great show. We're on the 58. We're on the 58. We're on the 58.
You know what? In his last year as the reigning Browns sack champion, this has been the Clay Matthews episode of the Barking Browns show. I'm Nick. He's Jake. No, he's wow. He's Ed, and he's Jacob. Go Browns.
Go Browns,
baby.